Is the president on drugs? A lot of people are wondering after this morning's press conference, where Donald Trump, of course, talked about Iran and thankfully de escalated the situation. He was sniffing and slurring his way throughout parts of that speech. And so there were a lot of people that were concerned. And let me show you a little bit of his speech, show you what I'm talking about. Take a look.
In 2013, and they were given $150 billion, not to mention $1.8 billion in cash. Instead of saying thank you to the United States, they chanted death to America. In fact, they chanted death to America the day the agreement was signed. Then Iran went on a terror spree, funded by the money from the deal, and created hell in Yemen, Syria, Lebanon, Afghanistan, and Iraq. The missiles fired last night at us and our allies were paid for with the funds made available by the last administration. The regime also greatly tightened the reins on their own country, even recently killing 1,500 people at the many protests that are taking place all throughout Iran. Your campaign of terror, murder, mayhem will not be tolerated any longer. It will not be allowed to go forward.
Tolerated? What? Okay. So those are some examples. You could hear him sniffing. And look, sometimes I sniffle, right? And that's because I have terrible sinuses. I'm not literally doing Adderall, which a lot of people think that might be what the president's doing. We don't know for certain, but there's a lot of speculation. In fact, it had been trending on Twitter. And I want to show you some of the fun responses from this. People expressing their concern for the president who could be possibly on some sort of drugs. Now, Kevin Cruz says, or asks, how is he already out of breath? Did he jog there? Very unlikely, Kevin. After all, again, this is the president who has this theory about everybody being born with an internal battery. And if you deplete that battery, you die, and you deplete it through exercise. That's why he never exercises. And would explain why he's always out of breath. But Marie says, you can literally hear him trying to keep his tongue in his mouth. Trump is not well. Jennifer Hayden said, every single time Donald Trump gives a major speech, he has the sniffles. This is the discussion that needs to be had. Has any major outlet ever asked Donald Trump directly whether he uses Adderall? The American people have a right to know if the president has a drug dependency. That's a good. That's good. You know, if I ever become president, which boy, that'll be the day. I would admit that I have a drug dependency. I'm dependent on caffeine. I drink way too much coffee, and that, of course, gives me heartburn and screws my sinuses. So there's an explanation on that. But I doubt we're ever going to get the explanation from Donald Trump on why he. And look, this isn't the only time. Okay, I got one thing on my soundboard where he did the same thing as tolerated, right? And that's when he was talking about his vice president,
Mike Pounds.
It's Mike Pence. Yeah, Mike Pounds, tolerated. I mean, the guy has some serious issues. And I don't know, like, is that slurring a result of Adderall? I have no idea. I'm not a doctor. Boy, we should get the Fox Medical A-team in there. That might help. But okay, anyway, seriously though, let's get to more tweets. Charles Campisi says, Trump looks and sounds like he's overloaded on Adderall. He's sniffing, slurring his words, robotically reading words off the teleprompter. His remarks were vapid, rambling, incoherent, no substance or detail. But yeah, that's pretty much every single speech that I watch with Donald Trump. And sometimes he's like sweating and stuff. Yeah. Mystery Solvent says Trump just blamed everything on Obama, as you saw in that clip. It's hard to hear over the loud sniffing. I don't think this is what Iran expected to hear. Well, Donald Trump, like I said, is a wild card. You never know what to expect from him. But what's interesting is, yeah, he did blame Obama. I mean, in that video clip, he said, oh, we gave so many billions of dollars to Iran, $150 billion plus $180 billion. No, he's making that up. What we actually did is that we gave Iran their money back. So that was money that we had frozen. We had frozen their assets after an arms deal in the 70s, right? So look, we kept the arms, we got their money because they had that Islamic revolution. And so that was in response to us overthrowing their government and installing a Shah, basically a puppet government. And so we kept their money until the Iran deal, when we finally agreed, okay, we're going to give you your money back. You still didn't get the weapons, but we're just going to give you your money back. And by the way, speaking of giving weapons to the Iranians, that was something that Ronald Reagan had done, by the way. And a lot of people don't like to talk about that. All right. More. Paris Lady 1492 says Trump is high as a kite and some drug he sniffed. Cindy 8645 says, it's pretty bad when I see Adderall trending, and my first thought is, oh, right, the president gave a speech this morning. It gets even more savage, and I love it. Richard Leah says, it looks like he looks like an exhumed corpse, which was sent to the paint shop for a few coats of Dayglow Orange and then injected with Adderall. It's like Weekend of Trumps over here, or Weekend at Trump's. He adds, this gives me hope that he's truly sundowning. Maybe. Greg Morelli says, if it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, sniffs Adderall like a duck, it's a duck. Quack, quack, Mr. President. All Kinds of Nope says, he is not well, can hardly open his eyes, slurring his words, sniffing and short of breath. East Coast Emo says, under politics trending is Adderall, slurring teleprompter. Are we great yet? Yeah, well, that would be nice, wouldn't it? If we were great. And finally, a black woman who don't give an F says this. If Barack Obama, such a great point, Barack Obama stood before cameras, slurring his words, barely able to read a teleprompter and sniffing and gasping for air, it would be the top headline running in MSM. But with Trump, MSM intentionally ignores it. Why? It's because, look, it's basically Tuesday. That's what you get with the Trump administration. And now there are two more who kind of look on the bright side of things. So we'll leave you off with a little bit of hope here. Strong Moderate says that address was a mess, no consistent tone, no clear takeaway message, some domestic political bashing, slurring. The only positive thing here is that there was no clear military escalation. So thank goodness he was feeling charitable today. And then Rob Rousseau says, whoever it was that shot Trump up with a bunch of horse tranquilizers or whatever this morning to prevent him from starting World War III, I salute you. Indeed. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent, progressive media.